En las filas de enfrente hay lugares vacíos para que los ocupen, por favor.
Happy to have you here and to be part of Languages Day.
Queridos estudiantes, profesores y comunidad de la Universidad Vasco de Quiroga que hoy nos acompaña. La Coordinación de Idiomas les da la más cordial bienvenida a este evento que entusiastamente hemos preparado para ustedes. Estamos muy contentos de tenerlos aquí y de que sean parte de esta jornada de idiomas.
As part of the program, there will be 2 master lectures addressed by the keynote speakers Alberto Hurtado Olivares and Luis Esteban Pérez Villanueva. The first one is The Necessary Skills to Excel in the 20th Century by the MA in English Language Teaching Alberto Hurtado Olivares. The second one is Beyond English by the ME Luis Esteban Pérez Villanueva. After each presentation, we will have a round of questions and answers, so feel free to convey all your thoughts and doubts.
Como parte del programa, tendremos 2 conferencias magistrales a cargo de los ponentes Alberto Hurtado Olivares y Luis Esteban Pérez Villanueva. La primera de ellas se titula Las habilidades necesarias para destacar en el siglo XX, por el maestro Alberto Hurtado Olivares. La segunda ponencia se titula Más allá del inglés, por el maestro Luis Esteban Pérez Villanueva. Después de cada presentación, tendremos una sesión de preguntas y respuestas, así que tengan la confianza de llegar sus dudas y comentarios.
I'm very happy to introduce the MA Alberto Hurtado Olivares. He has a very extensive resume, so I will read his most important achievements.
Me siento muy contenta de presentar al maestro Alberto Hurtado Olivares. Él tiene un currículum muy amplio, por lo que leeré un resumen de sus logros.
He has a major in computer science by the Tecnológico de Morelia, as well as being a certified English language teacher by the University of Cambridge.
Tiene una ingeniería en sistemas computacionales por el Tecnológico de Morelia, así como una licenciatura en enseñanza de idiomas por la Universidad de Cambridge.
He has a master in English language teaching by the University of Southampton in the UK.
Tiene una maestría en enseñanza del inglés por la Universidad de Southampton en el Reino Unido.
Currently, he is a professor and researcher at the Faculty of Electric Engineering of the Universidad Michoacana de San Nicolás de Hidalgo.
Actualmente es profesor e investigador en la Facultad de Ingeniería Eléctrica en la Universidad Michoacana de San Nicolás de Hidalgo.
He's a teacher's trainer by Centro Interdisciplinario para la Calidad Educativa y Empresarial en México, as well as an English teacher trainer by the U.S. Embassy.
Es formador de formadores en el Centro Interdisciplinario para la Calidad Educativa y Empresarial en México, así como capacitador docente en la Embajada Americana.
He also has certifications in the areas of human development, neurolinguistic programming, emotional intelligence education, and accelerated learning theories.
También tiene certificaciones en el área de desarrollo humano, programación neurolingüística, inteligencia emocional y teorías del aprendizaje acelerado.
M.E. Luis Esteban Pérez Villanueva has a bachelor's degree in foreign languages, specialized in translation and interpretation of English, French, Italian, German, and Spanish.
El maestro Luis Esteban Pérez Villanueva tiene licenciatura en traducción e interpretación en inglés, francés, italiano, alemán y español.
He also has a master's degree in education with focus on curricular and didactic design.
También tiene una maestría en educación.
He has been a teacher for more than 20 years in diverse areas of language, linguistics, translation, and communication, including subjects related to the evolution of languages, literature, and international protocol.
Ha sido docente por más de 20 años en diversas áreas de lenguaje, lingüística, traducción y comunicación, incluyendo materias relacionadas a la evolución del lenguaje, literatura y protocolo internacional.
He is a speaking examiner for Cambridge University, and he has more than 100 published titles, either as author, translator, editor, or proofreader with international houses such as Macmillan Education, Ediciones Castillo, SM de Ediciones, and Editorial Planeta.
Es examinador en la Universidad de Cambridge y tiene más de 100 publicaciones, así como autor, traductor, editor y revisor en distintas editoriales internacionales como Macmillan, Ediciones Castillo, SM de Ediciones y Editorial Planeta.
So, please give them a warm welcome.
Así que démosle la más cordial de las bienvenidas.
Good morning, Ubak. How are you today? How are you today? Thank you. Okay, before we start with our talk, let me tell you something. I need to aware you. I am a very hyperactive person. I cannot stay still like for 1 or 2 seconds. So I will always be moving, and I will ask you to be moving. So this is not a talk where you sit down, you cross your arms, and you sleep, okay? You will need a notebook, you will need a pen, not right now, but you will, okay? And we're going to start with a very, very simple exercises. Let me see if we can hear some music for this. I'm gonna ask you, please, to roll your eyes in a circle 2, 3 times. And then move your eyes on a square position 3 times in a row. Ready? Now, take your earlobes and pull them down. and push them up. The other one down and up. And here comes the interesting one. Raise your index finger on one hand, and in the other hand, your pinky finger. And then following the rhythm of the music, change your fingers. Thank you very much, people. All right, let's start with our talk today. Let me see if we can see the slides. All right. The necessary skills to excel in the 20th. Let's start with a very simple question. How have some things changed from the last 100 years up today? Take a look to your cell phone. Well, there are a lot of people looking at the cell phones, right? Well, let me show you. This was a picture of a cell phone back in the 1950s, 1960s, no? It was analog. You dialed the phone. Think about your father's car or the car that you drive. This was a car from the 1960s, convertible, by the way. Television. This was a real television. And if you didn't know, televisions had a clock. It was like a temporizer that you turned, and it was decreasing. And when it got to zero, the television was off. So again, you had to turn again. No? This was a professional camera. Think about the digital cameras right now, which not only take pictures but also videos. No? And you have Wi-Fi connection. And guess what? This is a picture from a classroom in the 1960s. How has this changed? Unfortunately, many institutions, mostly public institutions, have the same appearance as this picture. Yes or no? Well, look at the auditorium right now. You are seated in lines. Do you know why the schools seat the students in lines and rows? Yes? I would love to hear you, but you're pretty far. Let me tell you the answer. The answer is the industries needed schools to prepare the students for the production lines. So these were the forms that the industry collocated the workers. So that's why students are seated in lines. And some institutions, after hundreds of years, they continue to teach like this. And the world is not the same. The skills that you need are not the same today as it was 200 years ago. So, let me go. Oh. Okay. Time ago, you had to think about hard skills. What are the hard skills? Well, hard skills are acquired by formal education at school, taking a certification, getting a diploma. Had to know how to operate machines. So your skills were measured by the machines that you could work with. How many words per minute could you type on a typewriter, or, well, in the first computers, we may say? If you could program a computer using a software language, how much software could you handle if you know the basic Microsoft Office? Back in the 1980s, for example, saying, I know Microsoft Office was like, oh, wow. No? And right now, Microsoft Office is like, really? We don't even use Microsoft anymore, right? Okay. And finally, how many languages you spoke? If you if you could communicate with somebody in Chinese, in German, in French. So when I was young, many people said, you need to study English, French, and one more. And right now, that is not enough, because you can get in contact with people from all around the world. Of course, English is the universal language, but it would be better if you talk to a Japanese person to speak Japanese. No? So, well, these were the hard skills that you needed 100 years ago. But right now, in the current century, we need soft skills. So what is the difference between hard skills and soft skills? The hard thinking, in the hard thinking, your brain functions like the Venice canals. Everything is very straight and it's a square, right? So your brain was composed by an intricate network of canals highlighting what is conventional and recognizable. But the soft skills, they are different. They are like delta rivers. The delta rivers, as you can see in the picture here, there are a lot of ways and branches. So the different currents of thought are able to blend into each other, leading to creativity. So make a note there. Creativity is one of the key words of this talk. Now, yeah, we have to work with soft skills. Now the question is, what exactly include the soft skills? Soft skills involve or are related to your character traits and personal values. Is what you believe and what define you. It also relates to your personal approach to life, how you see life. The way you see life cannot be the same as your partner's approach of life. I mean, maybe it's similar because that's why you are friends, but it cannot be the same. You have your own personal thoughts and beliefs. Soft skills relate to the way you communicate and the way you treat people around you, your interrelationships, and obviously how capable you are to express your emotions. And 50 years ago, I engineering in computer systems, and 50 years ago, all the engineers had this characteristic. Engineers are machines or robots to work. And we had zero emotional expressions. Éramos nada más maquinitas de sentarse en la computadora y trabajar o sentarse frente a una máquina, and that's it. And we didn't communicate with people, not even with other engineers. Now these things have changed. So all this sounds pretty good, but the real question is, how the heck do we do that? How can we work and improve our soft skills? Well, during this talk, we're going to do a couple of exercises that could help you develop and improve your soft skills. So let's start with the first one. The soft skills, there are many, but generally speaking, you could identify the 4 C's and the emotional side. Creativity, that was the first one I told you. Collaboration is how you work in a team, in a group. Communication, obviously, to work in a group, you need to communicate with the people. Critical thinking. This is one of the last theories for teaching who are helping you to develop critical thinking and problem solving. Please, people, valoren esos maestros because they are preparing you for the current times, not for from the past. And obviously, the last one we said, it has to be with your social emotional agency. your capability to express your emotions and feelings. So let's start with the first exercise today. Creativity is all the toolbox we have in order to do things. So I'm going to ask you to take a piece of paper, a notebook, or a napkin, and your pen. Please take a pen and your pen and paper, pen and paper. Everybody, come on, quickly. This is where you will need to write down. Come on, people. Take a notebook and a pen. Are you ready? Hurry up. It could be a napkin or something. The thing is that you can write. Ready? What is this? What is this in the picture? Yes, it's a paper clip, right? Okay. How many uses beside holding papers could you think for a paper clip? What else can you do with a paper clip, which is not holding papers? Write it down. 1 minute. Let's see how many you can write. I'm going to give you just an idea that my family uses every December. We use clips to hold the Christmas spheres in the Christmas tree. No, that's one use. Y si no los pueden escribir en inglés, escríbanlos en español. No problem. Nadie se los va a revisar ahorita. Los teachers están ocupados. Y no se vale googlear. ¿Para qué puedo usar un clip? Think about it, people. Busted. Ready? How many did you write? ¿Cuántos usos diferentes le encontraron al clip? 5? Well, let me tell you, you could do like 20 different things with a paper clip. For example, opening a catalog or opening a door. You could scratch something with the tip of the paper clip. Some women use clips in their head. I have seen women like getting their bangs combed with a paper clip if they don't have anything else. No, we're talking about emergencies, not because you want it and like it. No, but I have seen people do something like this. What else can you do with a paper clip? What else? What else? Yeah, an earring, yes, or in your shirt, or the tie. No, could be. What else? Okay, yes. All right, so there are many different uses. Okay, next exercise. Please draw 6 circles in your paper, just like this. No importa que no, just draw your 6 circles. Ready? Now, make a picture using each of the circles. Make a picture inside or using each one of the circles. So perhaps you could do something like this. 1 ear, 2 ears, 1 eye, 2 eyes, smiley face, the nose, and that's a Mickey Mouse, right? Let me just move around and see what you're getting in your pictures. Okay, are you ready? Good. You can continue this for homework later, but let me ask you a question. Did someone of you use two circles to make one drawing? Yes? What did you do? What did you draw? How? I can't see. Oh, eyes. All right, good. Did someone of you use three circles or more? No? Okay, let me tell you, this is not an idea, but this is just to show how different people could think differently. I was in a workshop like 7 years ago, and I gave this same exercise to a group of people. And there was one person, there was one person who did only this. One line, oh. It's moving forward, and I want it backwards. Okay, here. Okay, let me see. There was one person who did one line here, one line here, one line here, one line here, and one line here. And that's it. And I said, what the hell is that? Es una coladera, profe. Vista de cerquita. Oh my God. Think out of the box. Think differently. All right? It's okay to draw pictures, faces, animals, spheres, we may say figures, but try to think differently. All right? Try to think out of the box. Another exercise to improve your creativity and imagination. What color do you associate with the following words? What color is Mexico? Green. Ay, ni que fuera Irlanda. All right, good. Could be. It's valid. Okay. What color is love? Ah, okay. What color is life for you? Ah, ¿verdad? Ahí sí ya hubo diferentes. Yellow, purple. Okay. What color is friendship? Yellow, green. Okay. What color is hope? White, green. Hay uno que dice la esperanza es verde. I don't know. Okay. Good. There is no correct answer, okay? There is no correct answer or incorrect answer. All of them could be correct. It's just how you are using your imagination and your creativity. Let's work with another exercise. For this, I will need my speaker again. I will play some songs for you from a classical music suite called Fantasy. Try to see if you can identify which song is for a bird, for a turtle, for an aquarium, for a hen, for the kangaroos, for the donkeys, the elephant, and the swan. All right, here we go. Let's see what. Fish? Could be. The elephant, okay. Let me go with the next one. Ah, this sounds more like an. What about this? Next one. No, it's not Harry. What about this one? What was this? The donkey, yeah. And the last one. This was this one. Okay, so every time you listen to music, try to close your eyes and make a relation to something. Of course, I'm not talking about reggaeton or banda music. You know, it's like abstract, high intellect music, you know, like jazz, classical music, blues, even rock. Try to see what the artist is trying to express. What is he thinking? What is he talking about? What is he saying in the song? And most importantly, what does it make you feel? All right? Good. Let me stop the music and let's go back to our slides. Critical thinking. This is another interesting exercise for you. In this exercise, you're going to work in pairs or in groups, in mini groups. It could be a group of 3 or 4 people. But this is very interesting. Imagine that you have won a surviving camping 1-week trip with your best friends here sitting next to you. Okay? You're going to spend 1 week at the beach camping, not in an all-inclusive hotel. It's just camping. But you can get only one object from each kit from this list. Only one. So from this kit, you have to decide which object is the one you're going to take to your camp. From the kit number 2, which object are you going to take? Kit number 3 and kit number 4. So what are the objects, what are the only 4 objects that you are going to take to your vacation? Could you think, can you talk about it for 2 minutes, perhaps? Go. Okay, 1 minute more. Let us hear some opinions. Are you ready? What? No, not even the first one? Yes? What did you choose? What was your 4 object? Your 4 objects? Yes. Which one? No, but from no, you didn't understand. Can you show the projection again? From the first kit, which is this, which object from here would you take? You have to choose one. A pillow, insect repellent, hat, sandals, a t-shirt, toilet paper, your swimsuit, or sunglasses. What is the object that you would choose from here? Only one. Yeah, from each column, you have to choose one object. Which one did you choose, gentlemen? The sandals, okay. And the second one? The knife, okay. Beer, okay. And steaks, yeah, to have a barbecue at the beach, no? Okay. Some other ideas different? What did you choose? Doctors, what did you choose? Tequila. And why not beer? You're at the beach. Isn't it better beer than tequila? With soda. Oh, pero ahí no viene a soda. It's tequila plain like that. I think it's better lemonade. Or there was Gatorade, right? Yeah, tequila doesn't make you unthirsty. It's like, yeah, if you are thirsty or hot, you wouldn't. Oh, repellent. Do you think that's really important? Yeah, okay. I can see it's important because you're holding one. All right, very good, people. All right, let's go to the next exercise. With the people next to you, which of these statements are the most true for you? What is the truest and what is the falsest statement? Women cook better than men. Ya salieron. No. People who wear glasses are smart. Girls are not as athletic as boys. They say, no. Asians are good at karate. Asians in general, huh? Speaking about generally speaking. People who are into computers are nerds. All thin people are healthy. All the good people believe in God. I say, no, not necessarily. All doctors are rich. Yes, yes. Men drive better than women. Yes. Well, let me tell you, one of my best friends, she's a woman, and she drives better than any man that I know. She's a very, very good driver. Poor people are lazy. Not necessarily. I know poor people that work 12 hours a day. No, they just can't hit it. So which one of these do you think is the truest sentence? And what is the falsest? All of them. Okay, good. Well, these kind of exercises involve your critical thinking. You need to separate and organize your ideas, and you need to categorize priorities, and you need to solve a problem. Well, this is only one exercise, but the day in a future when you have to work, you will have to solve problems bigger, obviously, than this one, right? All right, let's go to the next one. Finally, your socio-emotional agency. Around the year 2000, it was very popular to talk about emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman published like 30 books of emotional intelligence. Now, the problem is, emotional intelligence mainly focuses on how well you can handle your own emotions and feelings, but it does not necessarily regard the interaction with other people. Once you work, when you graduate and you get to work in your professional life, you will have to interact with other people. So your emotional skills are important, but even more important when you are interacting with other people. According to another doctor, this is Claude Steiner, an emotional intelligent person knows his own feelings. I mean, you can be capable of recognizing your feelings and emotions. You have to be capable of controlling your feelings. You have to know how to react to bullying, to if someone criticizes your work. You will have to know how to deal with depression, yours and others. No, probably. You will have to be able to control your excitement or your joy because you're working. So not everything can be joy and laughter. You need to show empathy with the people around you. I had a video prepared to show empathy, but unfortunately we couldn't reproduce it. But if you send me an email, I can send it to you by mail. You must know how to mend your emotional damage. When you hurt other people, when you say something not nice to someone around you, you have to know how to compensate what you have done wrong. And finally, you have to create an emotional interactivity in which the people around you feel comfortable sharing also their emotions and feelings, because you are also sharing with them. What are the 5 basic emotions? Of course, there are many, but this picture, it shows you the most basic. Joy, fear, sadness, anger, and love. These are the 5 basic emotions. And mixtures of this create different feelings, right? Good. One exercise. In silence, think about something that makes you happy. Don't tell me, just think about it. Think about something that makes you sad, or a moment in your life when you were sad. And finally, something that makes you angry, or a moment in your life when you got really angry. Think about something that makes you feel desperate, anxious. Think about something that makes you feel nostalgic. And exercises like this can help you improve your emotional intelligence, to be aware of what you are feeling and when you are feeling this. Another exercise. Oh, again, I will need my speaker. Listen to these sounds. Perhaps you can identify what they are. Don't tell me what they are. Just think about how it makes you feel, the sound. Okay, people. Many of these topics are worth of being practiced in a long or extensive workshop. But my only idea here today with this talk is that you can recognize that the skills that you need in the current century are not the same as the skills you needed 100 years ago. Times have changed, things have evolved, so also you, people for the future, need to evolve and be better prepared for the future that you will have to face. Thank you very much, people. Here's my contact in case you have any questions, comments, or if you want to me to share the materials, I will be glad to. All right, so you can contact me at Adan dash. Oh, it's not a dash. It's Adan period Hurtado. I don't know why the dash. It's Adan period Hurtado. All right, punto Hurtado at umich.mx. All right. Thank you very much. Let's hear. I don't know if questions at the end after the second talk. So let's warm Luis Esteban for his talk. Thank you very much, people.
Well, good morning or good afternoon. I don't know. Good morning. Yes, it's good morning still. So this is called Beyond English. And we've just heard a very interesting talk about skills for the next century and for the 21st century. And this is somehow connected to that. Let's see how. But first of all, while we have my presentation on the screen and that, let me thank Fred and the organizers for inviting me to this talk and for you to staying here after all this time, for everything. And that's it. That's Beyond English and that's it. Okay. So beyond English, there is a whole world. So this is not working. That's it. That's a map. Everything that is blue, dark blue, it's the countries where English is the first language, what we typically call native speakers. So it's basically United States, Canada, England, Australia, the typical ones. Everything that is light blue is the countries where English is second language, but it's official in the country. So it's like Canada, like Quebec, famously, it's French-speaking area, but English second language, but it's not the official language of the area. And we have lots of countries, well, Africa, the rest in America, etc. But in this map, which is not changing, here, everything that is blue is all the countries where English is studied at school compulsorily. So supposedly, everyone in these blue countries should speak English. Not as a first language, not native speakers, not as a second language, but officially, but mandatorily, they studied that at school. So what we typically call non-native speakers is that. If we put that together, well, in the yellow one is entirely. They study at school mostly. Most of the times they study English at school, but it's not official, it's not mandatory, it's just if the school wants. However, most of them do. If we put that together, we have basically the whole world. If we put that together, English is spoken everywhere. Let's see some numbers. And, well, native speakers, 378 million in 2020. Plus, and the plus is taking time. So 743 million non-native speakers. That gives us around 1.3 billion speakers around the world of English. That's almost everyone, we would think. I mean, 1.3 billion people around the world speaking English. That's a lot of people. So if English is spoken all around the world, this is not working. This is very slow. So if English is spoken all around the world, if everywhere we go, we will find someone, at least someone who speaks English, and we already know English, either because it's my first language, either because I studied it, why should I learn another language? Of course, if considering that the whole world speaks English, if someone doesn't speak English, I think something is missing there. Of course, we need to start working on that. If someone, we are missing all this world of English speakers. But if we already do, and we already speak English at a high level, why should we study another language? I shouldn't trust in it. It's taking too long. So, why should we study another language? Why should we care about studying a different language beyond English? Why should we spend all this time, all these problems, all these, all these situations that are related to studying a different language if we already speak English? It makes no sense. Well, it actually does. There are several reasons. There are actually many reasons why we should try. We should learn other languages, other views of the world. And that's what this talk is mainly about. That's why it's called Beyond English, because there is a whole world beyond the English language. There is a whole world, even in the English-speaking countries, there is a whole world beyond the English language. So Frank Smith, focusing mainly on the bilingual brain, says that one language sets you in a corridor for life, two languages open every door along the way. And it's true. With two languages, you can deal everywhere. We already speak two languages, English and Spanish. But now imagine what you can do with several other languages. Not only opening the doors, but opening the whole world, actually. So there are several reasons. There are three main categories that we are going to discuss today. The first category is related to the personal benefits. Yes, studying languages helps us in many ways as individuals. Also, we're going to talk about the collective culture. Yes, studying languages develops the collective culture around the world, and therefore our own culture in relation to this world. But also, there is something related to the traveling experience. We all want to travel. Well, most people want to travel and to have a great experience traveling. Well, languages can help us to that in many ways that we are going to see in a moment. So let's start with the personal benefits. Of course, there are some very evident personal benefits about knowing languages. One of them, of course, related to the communication with other people and academic degrees and these kind of issues. I'm going to take all my slides together. Otherwise, it's going to take time. So the first thing that I would like to mention is brain power. And in general, to keep a healthy mind. How can languages help us develop our brain and develop our mind? There are several ways. Just imagine what you need to do for learning a language, whatever language you want. We need to have lots of repetitions. You need to memorize things. You need to create ideas. You need to connect ideas you don't know. If you study a language that changes the alphabet, you need to learn visual representations. You need to learn new codes. You need to associate those codes, those systems, those grammars, characteristics, etc., etc. You need to connect them languages. All those things, all those processes are leading your brain to develop itself. Whenever you speak a language, you have certain amount of neuronal connections. These neuronal connections are there, are permanent. But when you learn a new language, new connections are developed. When you have new connections, you have more brain power. In other words, you are more intelligent in a way when you learn a language. But also, it keeps your mind active. It keeps your mind constantly changing and reshaping itself because you start adding information, adding codes, adding forms, adding representations if you study Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, Cyrillics, or whatever. So the brain is working. And if the brain is constantly working, your mind is healthy. It is proven that studying languages helps to keep Alzheimer away, for example, or to not cure, but to prevent some other mental issues like depression, anxiety, and so on and so on. So learning languages helps us keep the brain. And now that I mentioned Alzheimer, it helps us with memory. Not only because you need to learn new words, and not only because you need to learn new grammar rules and new grammar ideas, also because you are constantly developing the muscle, let's call it that way, the memory muscle. You're practicing on how your brain remembers things. So you are developing and you are exercising your short-term memory and also your long-term memory for all the things that need to actually stay in your brain. So it's actually a very powerful thing to do, learning languages in terms of brain and memory. And that's wonderful in terms of a personal development because it's not only developing memory for languages. Actually, it helps us develop memory for everything we do in our lives. To be more attentive, to be more aware of the world, which is related to memory. We are able to remember dates and data and anything that we need to use our memory. And sometimes we forget lots of things. Well, learning languages helps us to deal with that. There are some extreme cases. Some of us who have a terrible memory, well, there are extreme cases. But it also makes you a better communicator. Of course, you speak more languages, you can communicate with more people. Yes, that's the obvious part. But learning a language helps you to understand how that language, but also how your own language works in a better way. It helps you develop more skills for talking to people, having different forms of talking to people, and being more empathical for talking to these people. So you can communicate better with people, not only in the basic linguistic terms of the new language, but also in the core skills that you need for having communication and expressing your ideas. Because you have more ways to express one idea, of course, more languages, but also that develops more ways of expressing your ideas in your own language. So languages helps you to all that in relation to the brain and communication. There are other benefits, and these other benefits are related to your own identity. It helps you develop who you are. It is said that when you learn languages, you change your personality. And it is said that the way you act, the way you feel the world, the way you live is different depending on the language you are speaking. It's somehow true. But together with that, we are developing and you are getting to know who you are in a better way. For learning a language, you need to get into yourself. And in order to understand the new words and the new codes and the new systems, you need to adapt them to your own point of view. And that leads you to know better your own world and therefore your own identity. But of course, knowing all these languages and of course, knowing all these people and all these cultural issues leads you to be open-minded. And being open-minded is one of the crucial things in today's world. So learning languages has lots of these benefits. So why shouldn't we give a try? Just for these things about our brain and about our culture and about social development, I think it's sufficient good reason for learning languages beyond English. But let's explore what happens with culture. Let's explore what happens with the surrounding areas of our world. You are as many times human as the amount of languages you know. That is a very famous quote. Every time you learn a language, sometimes we learn the practical issues. Sometimes we focus on, okay, I need to communicate, I need to speak, I need to learn the words, I need to learn the grammar, and that's it. But that's not the only thing behind learning a language. Learning a language implies learning the culture behind the language, listening to the music, reading the books, knowing how they feel, knowing history, knowing geography, knowing all these issues related to the countries where the new language we are learning is spoken. So that gives us a completely different view of the world. So our culture, our personal culture, is enriched with this new content. Our personal culture connects to other people. So every time we connect, culturally speaking, with other people, we are enriching the culture of other people. And this connection makes general collective culture a better thing. So again, I shouldn't trust this thing. So language reflects thinking. And I'm going to put the whole thing here. Language reflects thinking. And that's something very important. The way we think is reflected in the way we speak. The more languages we learn, we change and we get to know different forms of thinking. And that is part of the culture. Actually, there is a clear connection, and it's a full circle in the culture, the linguistic features, and the way we think. Actually, many of the things that we think today depend on the way and the place we are. If we travel, if we go to different countries, the most simple things are going to be different. The most simple things like thinking about previous exercise, the colors. Most of you thought about different colors for things. That kind of thing might change culturally because every country, every experience has a different thing for every single idea. So language, thinking, and culture are deeply interconnected. So the cultural identity is developed, and the way we view the world changes because the different languages we speak and the different languages that are spoken in the world carry themselves a different view of the world. So let's see some simple examples. There's one famous example about a point of view of the world which is totally different. When we think about ice, when we think about snow, that's a very famous example. Very likely you've heard about this. When we talk about the ice, we know in our culture, in our society, we know maximum 5 things for different forms of ice. If we include snow, maybe we can give 6 or 7, maybe 8 words related to ice and snow. 8 words because that's probably 8 different forms in which we can know ice. Ice, scourge, snow, etc., etc., etc. However, if we go to Alaska, and that's the famous example, they have more than 20 ways of calling ice and snow because there are different ways of viewing the world. Why? Because their world is surrounded by snow and ice. So it's not the same, the ice in the floor than the ice in the leaves, than the ice living from the leaves, etc., etc. It's a different point of view. For us, that's insignificant. For them, that's their world. So let's think about probably a closer example. Time. Our culture always deals about time. We have a meeting at 10. This talk needs to talk 45 minutes. We have certain age. We have a meeting in 2 hours. And everything we do is connected somehow to time because time is valuable. We have expression. Time is money. Oh, yes, because time, we measure the time we spend doing something, and that gives value to our things. But if we go to Africa, if we think about the Hopi language, for example, in Africa, they don't have a concept of time. They have a concept of the basic, immediate ways. For example, a day. So something that for us is so natural, like say, see you in 5 days, for a Hopi speaker in Africa, they would need to say, if they need to talk about that, they would need to say a day and a day and a day and a day and a day, because they don't have the concept of time of 5 days. That makes no sense for them, because their point of view of the world is different. Whenever we learn languages, we learn this point of view of the world, and we get to understand each other. When we get in touch with each other, we understand how they think, we understand how they see the world, and we reduce the amount of conflicts that we have, misunderstandings. Let me give you another example that has to do directly with the way we speak, and that has to do with the way we see life and many things. It's a very simple example. Let's think about attention. Attention, some of you are actually paying attention now. That's very good. We are supposed to pay attention all the time for every situation. When we speak with someone, when we are in class, when we are in the traffic, we pay attention to the surrounding. I mean, attention is everywhere. But in every language we speak, we deal with attention in a different way. For example, in Spanish, we lend our attention, prestar atención. Why? Because you are expecting that the other person is also paying attention to you. So in a way, it's like giving it back to you, because it's valuable and it's yours. It's to be shared. So you are lending it. But in other languages, like in French, for example, you make it. Faire attention. Why you make it? Because it's an active thing. Attention is not something that is just there and that's it. Something that you need to do actively. You cannot pay attention if you're not actually paying attention, if you are not consciously paying attention. It's impossible to do it unconsciously. So let's say, for example, German. You give it. It's something that is valuable to you, and whenever you are giving it to the other person, it's done. There is no more. It's the other person's. It's a gift you are giving to the other person. And in English, being the practical language it is, you pay for the attention because it's valuable. So you pay attention because it has to do with the value you give to it in relation to the other person and in relation to yourself and in relation to what you are doing together. This simple thing, it's a very simple thing. It's just the way we speak. And might with some of us might say it's just the way language works. Well, yes, it is just the way language works. But language works like that because that reflects the way we see the world. That reflects the way we see ourselves in the world and in relation to others. If we learn this, if we understand this, we get to have lots of less conflicts and misunderstandings with people from other cultures. The so famous culture shock gets lots reduced by understanding at least the language of the other person. So, another quote. Speak to someone in their second language and you'll speak to their brain. Speak to someone in their first language and you'll speak to their heart. That has to do with traveling. Whenever we travel, it depends on why we travel. When we are young, when we travel, we just want to go to the beach and rest and have fun and club, and that's what it matters. But traveling has much more than that. And as we get older, yes, it's true, we get to focus in other things like getting to know the countries and the culture and the identity and the activities and customs and everything related to the country. So when we go to a country, in order to know the country, we visit the cities. And visiting the cities, it's wonderful because you get to know the architecture, you get to know many things. But you also get to talk to the people. And by talking to the people, we manage to understand how they see their own country. We get history, the cultural history of the country. If we do that in a second language, they might speak English. Okay, it's true. But maybe they don't speak English very fluently. So the understanding of the cultural relationship with the country might not be as great as if we speak the language of the country. So it is wonderful to get to a country, to go to a small village in a country and ask for the things, ask for culture, ask for their history, ask anecdotes in their own language. People are going to be more fluent and are going to be happier to tell you their stories. And learning their stories is how we get to know the culture of the country. But also you get to the real thing. Imagine when you go to a restaurant, when you go to a cafe in Italy, and you ask for your coffee in Italian, and you get to know all the different variations of how they think about coffee, because coffee is an important thing in Italy. And you will understand why they laugh about Mexicans when they ask for a cafe cappuccino, because that's absurd for Italians, because cappuccino is coffee, and coffee is coffee. But if we understand their language and we understand how they think about coffee, we might understand why they laugh about Mexicans when this happens. So that's just one example. Or you go and ask for wine in Paris and get to live cafe lives in Paris and the bistros and all the things. So you get to understand, and you get, when you travel, even if you travel for a week or you travel for a month, you leave the country in the way the people from the country leave their country, by speaking their language. Other things, but the language is the first step in order to do it. And also, a country is not the capital. We might say, yes, everyone speaks English. Are you sure about that? Probably in the capital they do, but in the other villages they don't. And sometimes the other villages are the most important thing that you want to know. Think about Japan. You want to go to Tokyo. Oh, yes, it's wonderful. But the greatest landscapes that are so famous about Japan are not in Tokyo. So do they speak English in those other places? Maybe not. So you get a richer experience by traveling. But traveling is a very important thing. And traveling gets to connect with people and gets to mingle in many ways. So culture, everything is connected. You travel, you develop your culture, you develop your social skills, and you develop your brain because you are getting to learn more about the language and about the different language they have. But there is one more thing that we need to consider about this. We said that 1.3 billion speakers of English in the world. That includes people who are native speakers. That includes people who learn it at school, compulsorily or not. That includes people who just learn it as a third language or as a fourth language. So yes, people speak English all around the world. We said that there is 1.3 billion speakers, but in the world, we have 7.7 billion people. So we have about 5 billion people who don't speak English. So if we learn more languages, we can speak to these 5 billion people. Well, that's the social skills of each one, but that's another story. So learning languages is a wonderful thing. Learning English is wonderful, and it's very practical, and it's leading to many things in our business world, in our academic view, in our social life. Yes, English is wonderful. If we speak English at a very high level, we already speak two very important languages. And we'll speak Spanish and English, two of the most spoken languages in the world. Yes, it's true. But why not going beyond English? Why not trying and exploring other languages? Why not exploring probably related languages, probably unrelated languages? Let's call it Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, Russian, depending on the culture you have. But maybe, since we mentioned the brain benefits of studying a language, why not even studying artificial language? Esperanto, Tolkien's Quenya, Star Trek's language. I mean, we can study languages in ways, because that helps to our brain that helps to ourselves. But also you get to know people if that's what you are into. There are lots of societies speaking Esperanto, which is an inexistent language, but there are lots of people, millions of people speaking Esperanto. So why not learning languages? Sometimes we think it's a difficult thing. But if we want to, and if we really try to get into those languages, we can really learn and open the doors for a huge world, which is beyond English. And learning languages also gives us the opportunity to understand ourselves, as I said before. Maybe, just maybe, sometimes when we speak to ourselves, we do it in different languages. And when we learn different languages, you can speak to yourself in these different languages and understanding yourself better, and therefore solving lots of our own issues. So why not exploring this? I invite you to learn as many languages as you can. Learning languages is quite an adventure. So why not exploring it? Let's find the interesting part depending on your own interest. Let's find something that attracts you about a language. You are into anime, study Japanese. You are into other areas, depending literature. Find your favorite author. Start there. We always see the first step beyond English as a very difficult thing. It's like a huge barrier. Oh yes, it's a wall that I need to jump out for starting again a new language. Find something that you like and start there. And once you are into that language, when you get the second language, it's easier. And when you get to the third one, it gets even easier, and so on and so forth. And so I invite you to learn languages. There is one famous saying among polyglots. It's not like a famous saying, it's more like a dad joke, the bad jokes. And it is that, what do you need? How can you learn? They always say, polyglots, they say, how can you learn 8 languages in 2 steps? And it's a very silly thing. Just learn the first 7 and then add another one. Why not? If you already have 2 languages, why not exploring the third one? So I invite you to that, and that would be all for today. I thank you for your attention, and I will be open to your questions related to this in any form. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alberto and Luis Esteban, for your conferences. Now we will continue with a round of questions and answers.
Muchas gracias, Alberto y Luis Esteban, por sus conferencias. Ahora continuaremos con la sesión de preguntas y respuestas. A ver, allá están las maestras apoyándonos.
Si tienen alguna pregunta, chicos, levanten la mano. Las maestras y maestros se van a acercar a ustedes para que pregunten a los ponentes.
Tengan la confianza, chicos. ¿Qué les llamó la atención? ¿Qué les gustaría saber? Aprovechen que tenemos a 2 personas especializadas y, como pudieron ver, saben muchísimo y les pueden apoyar mucho en su proceso de aprendizaje. Entonces, cualquier duda que tengan la confianza de preguntarles. Les llevamos el micrófono.
Any question? Comment?
Complaints. ¿Un punto extra? No, no es cierto.
Décimas, tal vez. Allá tenemos una pregunta.
I want to thank because the conference was really interesting and we could play like a lot of with those games. But my question is like, for example, we are learning a lot of English. My question is, if everybody's learning English nowadays, where is the advantage with other universities if we already know English and the other ones are learning too? Like, which is the difference between this university and others? Like, maybe it depends of the person or it depends like on the level, but when we are like in the real world, what we are going to do if we already know the same level as English as the Valladolid, for example?
Well, that's actually a very weird question because English is very important, of course. I mean, English, the universal language, is fundamental for almost every single career we study, for every degrees, every master's work, etc. But because of that, we give English for granted. English is part of every single studies program in the country. So whenever we go to a university, it's not because of their English program. It's not because they teach English or not. We give it for granted. They teach English because it's mandatory to learn English in the country. Or maybe it's not part of the program because when you get to university, certain universities don't have English classes at university level because they give for granted that when you reach university, you already speak English because it's so universal that everyone speaks English, and since it's official and mandatory, we give it for granted. So what gives us an advantage in terms of English? Well, that could be specifically the teachers, that would be specifically the specific programs of the school. But what makes a university great is not only the English program, it's the overall thing. What makes UBAC better, equal, whatever, to other universities, it's not only the English program, it's the whole combination of course, how they interact with the other programs, how we integrate that to the university life and the relationships and the spaces. So considering only English would be insufficient for deciding what makes this university better. But if we study here, I think we already know what makes this university better for us, for each one of us. I don't know if that's the idea of your question. Okay.
On my side, I can tell you something. Well, I'm actually not a teacher at UBAC. I have never taught English here at UBAC. But let me give you a comparison. You mentioned Valladolid, for example. I know Valladolid teaches languages too, but I haven't heard of a forum like this with lectures for the students like here at UBAC. So for me, that speaks better from UBAC than from other institutes or schools, which also teach languages, but they don't have activities like these for the students. So for me, you are one step above the other institutes. And let me finish my suggestion here. Whether an institution is better than other is not only because teachers or the people at the direction are better. It is also because the students in the institute are better. So that's your job.
¿Alguna otra pregunta, chicos? ¿Se pueden acercar un poquito, por favor, para prestarles el micrófono?
Firstly, I would like to thank you for all your presentations, and I think they've both been really interesting. I think I've learned a lot from them, and that I would like to ask both of you a question from both different sides of a coin. Firstly, I would like to ask myself. I've been trying to learn different languages. I've been kind of like a maniac trying to learn little bits of different languages. As you said, it's like a little bit beyond even English and a little bit beyond having creativity or thinking outside of the box. But there is a point where you feel that that you're stuck. What do you do when you are stuck? You feel that there is no other way.
Yeah, this happens when we are learning any language. Actually, it has a name. I'm not going into theoretical names right now, uh, but my suggestion is relax, take it easy. It is natural to feel stuck at some point. So take it easy, relax, listen to music, watch some movies in that language, and sooner or later you will move that barrier. You will cross this barrier that is making you feel stuck. So my suggestion is always take it easy. Don't rush.
I might add something, something that for me at least is very important. When learning languages, of course, there is a moment when you get stuck. When learning anything, there's always a moment, anything that is related to skills, there is a moment when you feel stuck, that whatever you do is not progressing, and even sometimes you feel that you are going backwards. That's totally natural whenever we are learning. In a way, it's a reflection of learning, but that would imply going too deep into understanding how the brain works. But the most important thing is to enjoy the process. Why do we learn languages? Why are you learning the language that you are learning where you feel stuck? Just enjoy the process. Sometimes you are going to do great, enjoy it, and get exalted with the feeling of, oh, that was a great success. But whenever you have a problem with the learning, whenever you do something wrong, you should also enjoy that, because that obstacle is going to lead you further into your learning. Something that I suggest for learning languages is transforming your world into that language. Whenever we learn a language, we need to get immersed in the language. We need to practice the language as much as we can. When we go to school, we practice at school. And we get home, we don't practice anymore in the language. So in a way, we need to transform that and create our own immersion into the language. So watch movies in the language, listen to music, read books in the language. Not only books written in the language, maybe translations too. There's no problem. Just read in the language. Articles, newspapers, internet blogs, whatever. Watch YouTubers, not only videos or about the language and videos, these cultivated videos. No, watch the famous YouTubers of the countries. That's important too. That's also part of the language. Change your phone and put your phone in the language you are learning. Change your ringtones to something that tells you the hour in the language. Transform your world into the language. That way, every time you open your phone, you are going to read that language. Somehow, little by little, those words and those worlds become natural. And one day, if you enjoy this process, one day, without you even noticing, you are going to be past that blockage and you are going to be learning again. But if you focus only on the blockage, there is no way of solving that. As if there is a stone in front of you. If you focus on the stone, you cannot cross it. If you go around the stone, maybe you can cross it. So just enjoy the process. Don't be stressed, relax, and enjoy. That's the point.
Una última pregunta, chicos.
Okay. What are some tips for teaching a language? Because you already told us like the way to learn a language, which is true, to get immersed in the language, to choose something that we like. But what is the best way a teacher can teach a language? Thank you.
Oh my God, I think that's the toughest question I have ever been asked. God, I need to stop. Um, that's a really hard question. There are a lot of theories and approaches for teaching languages. And approaches and techniques and didactics change and evolve. I couldn't say which one is the best because every teacher is different. I mean, what works for me probably doesn't work from teacher Natalia. And probably what works for Luis Esteban does not work for me. And even more important, what works with me as a teacher to teach him English probably is not the same that will work to teach her English. So I think the best teacher is the one who is open to a wide variety of techniques and approaches and activities to detect which one is better and more suitable for his or her students, because there are a lot. So you have to consider, you have to teach not only vocabulary and grammar, but also the culture of the language and everything that is around. Not only the 4 skills, but also what is in the core of the language. Thank you. Very good question.
There is one thing that works for me in a way. I wouldn't say it's the best. I mean, your question was too intense. What's the best way of teaching a language? Well, that's a question that we've been asking for centuries. What's the best way of teaching a language? What works for me, besides the methodology, besides the content, besides all these techniques that we already know, didactics for teaching, something that I care or try to care about, it's not the student. It's not thinking about the student, but thinking about the human being I have in front of me. So I try to give, if the student is happy, if the student is enjoying my class, I think that's the first step towards learning. So whenever I teach language, I try to do something that the student will like. If I am going to show a video, I try, sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes I have some topics to cover, but I try to understand what the student likes, and I try to focus on that. So I will give them a video about the things they like. I will give students music they like, very typical teachers. Oh, let's listen to the song, and we listen to the songs that the teacher likes. Why not listening to the music the student likes if it works for the topic we are working? Because that way the student is going to enjoy the class. And sometimes you notice that the student, the human, is having some problems. If you focus on the human, sometimes the class becomes not a language class. It becomes a psychological therapy. There's no problem, because when the student gets well, that student is going to learn. So that's what I try. I don't know if it's the best thing, but it works for me. It works for me to focus first on that. And the content, the language, ideally will flow. And that applies not only for languages. Actually, that works for almost everything that we teach. Hope that works for you.
Gracias por su participación, la coordinación de idiomas y a nombre del titular de esta, el doctor Frederick Bufa, que está por ahí, les haremos entrega de un reconocimiento. Primero al maestro Alberto Hurtado, muchas gracias por su participación, y al maestro Luis Esteban. Muchas gracias. Chicos, para comprobar que vinieron, por ahí va a haber unos códigos QR para que se anoten que vinieron al evento, por favor. No lo pasen a sus compañeros si es que no vinieron, ¿ok? Gracias.
Van a tener solamente unos minutos para contestar. Se van a cerrar las respuestas. Así que por favor, no lo pasen, es únicamente para los que estuvieron aquí.